Most nights here at our farmhouse outside Franklin, Tennessee, this is the bowl Ruth and I come back to, a golden Mediterranean red lentil stew. It's simple, cheap, filling, and gentle on the cooking pot and on the person eating it. If you're trying to eat in a way that supports healthy kidneys as you age, this is one of those meals that makes sense without turning supper into a science project. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you why I like it, what the research says on how it can help your kidneys, and exactly how I make it taste rich enough that you won't be reaching for the salt shaker. Now, I need to say this plainly. I am not your doctor. If you have kidney disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, or you're watching potassium or phosphorus closely, you still need to follow your care plan and talk with your clinician or dietitian. Food can support health, but it does not replace medical care. What it can do is make your everyday meals more helpful, more satisfying, and significantly lower your risk of chronic diseases. The star of this pot is red lentils. I like them because they cook fast, they're affordable, and they give you plant-based protein without a lot of fuss. That matters for older folks because getting enough protein helps support strength and independence, but the kind of protein can matter too. A 2025 review looked at plant proteins and kidney health and found they may create less acid load for the kidneys than animal proteins. In plain language, that means they may be easier on the body's filtering system. Another line of research has linked higher plant protein intake with a lower risk of chronic kidney disease progression compared with animal protein. That does not mean lentils are magic. It does mean they deserve a place at the table. And red lentils have one more advantage that I appreciate more every year. They break down into a creamy puree all by themselves. No cream needed. No flour, no tricks. That makes them easier to chew and easier to digest, which is a blessing if your appetite isn't what it used to be, or if you just want supper to go down easy. Before they go in the pot, I give them a good rinse in a mesh strainer under cold water. If someone is being very careful about potassium, some people soak them and discard the water as well. That's not necessary for everybody, but it's a reasonable extra step for those who need it. A simple rinse is fine for most folks. I'd rather see you rinse them well than skip lentils altogether. Now let's talk about the flavor base, because a healthy dinner still has to taste like something you'd actually want to eat. I warm 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil in a soup pot, then add 1 chopped onion and 1 diced carrot. I cook them over medium heat for 5 to 7 minutes, just until they soften and start to smell sweet. I'm not trying to brown them. I want them to sweat a little. That gentle cooking brings out their natural flavor, and it gives the stew a homemade depth that plain boiling water never will. Olive oil is one of those old Mediterranean staples that has earned its reputation. It's rich in polyphenols, which are natural compounds studied for heart and blood vessel support. And for people watching minerals, olive oil brings 0 potassium and 0 phosphorus. That matters because the kidneys are tied closely to your blood vessels. When the vessels are under strain, the kidneys usually feel it too. I'm not saying olive oil solves anything by itself, but it is a sensible fat to use in place of highly processed oils or heavy sauces. Then come the spices, and this is where the kitchen starts to smell like something worth waiting for. I add 3 minced garlic cloves, 1 teaspoon turmeric, and 1 teaspoon ground cumin. I stir that for just about 60 seconds. Not long, just enough to wake the spices up. Garlic is one of my favorite tools for building flavor without relying on salt. It contains organosulfur compounds like allicin, which have been studied for antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects. Some clinical trials have suggested garlic extracts may improve inflammatory markers in people with chronic kidney disease. That doesn't mean garlic is a treatment, but it does mean it's more than just a pretty smell. We use it generously here, and frankly, it helps me forget I'm not using much salt. Turmeric and cumin do similar work in a different way. Turmeric contains curcumin, which has been studied for its potential to reduce oxidative stress, one of the processes involved in tissue damage over time. Cumin gives the stew warmth and a kind of old country comfort. Together, they make the lentils taste deep and complete, not flat or watery. That's important because a lot of people try to make healthy food by stripping out everything flavorful. Then they wonder why nobody wants to eat it twice. After the spices bloom, I pour in 1 cup of rinsed red lentils and 4 cups of low-sodium vegetable broth, or water if that's what I have. If you use broth, check the label and make sure it doesn't have phosphate additives. That's one of those little label reading habits that can make a difference for people watching kidney health. I stir everything well, scrape the bottom of the pot, and bring it up to a boil. Then I turn it down low right away. This next part is the easy part. I cover the pot partway and let it simmer for 20 to 25 minutes. You don't need to babysit it. The lentils soften, split apart, and turn the broth into a thick, golden stew. That's the beauty of red lentils. Brown lentils hold their shape more, which is fine for some dishes, but red lentils melt into comfort. For older adults, that matters. A meal that is easy to chew, easy to digest, and easy to prepare is a meal that actually gets used. There's a common mistake people make here. They walk away, crank the heat too high, and end up with scorched lentils stuck to the bottom of the pot. Low and gentle is the way. If it gets too thick before the lentils are tender, add a splash more water. We're making supper, not cement. When the lentils are soft and the stew looks creamy, I turn off the heat and squeeze in the juice of half a lemon. Then I taste it. If it seems flat, I add a little more lemon juice instead of salt. That acid wakes everything up. It makes the onion taste brighter, the garlic cleaner, and the whole bowl more alive. That last step matters more than a lot of people think. When you're trying to eat less sodium, you have to replace salt with something, not just remove it and hope for the best. Lemon is one of the best tools we've got. Fresh parsley on top adds a clean finish and a little color. It also makes the bowl look like somebody cared, which is never wasted effort. Ruth and I usually eat this with a small slice of toasted sourdough rubbed with a raw garlic clove. That little trick came from some old village-style cooking we've seen in different places, where bread was treated with respect, not as an afterthought. The garlic rub gives the toast enough character that you don't need much of it. A small piece beside the stew is plenty, and it turns a simple bowl into a real supper. Now, if you're managing kidney disease or you've been told to limit potassium, I want to be careful here. Lentils can still fit into some kidney-conscious meal plans, but portion size matters, and the rest of your day matters too. What works for one person may not work for another. That's why I keep coming back to the same idea. Use food wisely, but use your medical guidance too. This recipe is a tool, not a cure. One thing I like about this stew is how forgiving it is. If carrots are expensive, use a little less. If you have a bit of celery, you can add that. If you want a thinner soup, add more water. If you want it heartier, simmer a few minutes longer. The core stays the same: lentils, onion, carrot, garlic, turmeric, cumin, olive oil, and lemon. That's a pretty good pantry meal, and it keeps well in the fridge for several days. In fact, the flavor often improves by the next day. If you're new to cooking this way, start with 1 pot on a quiet evening. Make enough for 2 or 3 meals. Keep it simple. Taste as you go. That is how healthy habits usually stick around here on the farm. Not through grand declarations, but through ordinary bowls repeated often enough to matter. So if you want a dinner that is warm, satisfying, easy on the budget, and built around ingredients that fit a kidney-conscious lifestyle better than a lot of heavy processed foods, this golden Mediterranean red lentil stew is a fine place to start. The first thing I'd have you do after this video is rinse a cup of red lentils and put them on your grocery list. That one little move makes the rest easy. If you've got a family lentil soup, or if your mother or grandmother made something similar, I'd love to hear how you season it. And if you try this version, tell me where you're watching from and whether you prefer a little extra lemon or a little extra garlic. If this kind of practical kitchen advice helps you, you're always welcome to subscribe. Until next time, take good care of yourself, and I hope your supper tonight is simple and nourishing.